Have you ever noticed how, in a world drowning in noise, the most magnetic person in the room is often the one who says the least? What if the power you seek isn't in raising your voice, but in lowering it? What if the key to respect isn't found in the volume of your words, but in the weight of your silence? Today, we're going to uncover the ancient, counterintuitive truth. The most powerful people are rarely the loudest. They command the room with calm, not chaos. And this silent strength? It's been quietly shaping the world for centuries. They say if you want to make a difference, you have to shout louder, stand taller, push harder. That if you're not the loudest voice in the room, you're doomed to be overlooked or dismissed like background noise in a crowded marketplace of opinions. But what if I told you the exact opposite is true? What if I told you that the ones truly running the show, the ones who control the narrative, guide the energy, and command the deepest respect of it, the ones shouting to be heard, they're the ones who never need to raise their voice at all? This idea isn't new. In fact, it's ancient. The Stoics understood this principle long before the modern world bombarded us with notifications, deadlines, and desperate self-promotion. They knew that real strength isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the calmest, the most grounded, the one who speaks not to perform, but to lead. Today, we're diving deep into the transformative art of embracing silence and how doing so can utterly reshape how people see you. You'll learn how you can earn lasting respect without ever having to demand it. So, let's peel back the curtain on why, in a world of constant noise, it's the quietest voices that leave the deepest echoes. Imagine this scene. You walk into a crowded social event. Maybe it's a networking mixer, a heated business meeting, or even just a casual dinner party. And immediately, you notice this frantic, invisible race unfolding all around you. Everyone is locked in a silent battle to be the loudest, fastest, funniest, most important. Voices pile on top of each other. Opinions collide like waves crashing against rocks. Egos jostle for space like cars in rush-hour traffic. You can almost feel the tension in the air. But it's not the words themselves creating it. It's the underlying desperation to be seen. Everyone's performing. No one's truly participating. But pause for a moment. Does noise really equate to power? Does speaking louder make people respect you more? Or does it merely reveal a deep insecurity, masked as bravado? The Stoics answered this question centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Think about that. In a society obsessed with hustle, noise, and speed, there's something quietly rebellious about choosing stillness. Because real power doesn't chase the spotlight. It sits patiently in the shadows, letting the world come to it. It doesn't shout to fill a room. It speaks only when it has something worth saying. Now, let's bring this idea closer to home. Picture a typical day at your office. A team meeting unfolds. It's chaos. Everyone's jostling to make their ideas heard first, tossing around buzzwords like confetti, racing to prove they're the smartest in the room. It's like a circus of noise, ego, and urgency. And yet imagine you're the calm one in the middle of that storm. You're leaning back, listening, not reacting impulsively, not fighting to be heard. While everyone else broadcasts their insecurities through noise, your silence quietly broadcasts something far more powerful: certainty. You see, this is the subtle but crucial difference between needing to be noticed and knowing you will be. This shift isn't just about how you speak. It's about how deeply you know yourself. As Aristotle famously said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. When you truly know your worth, you don't need to advertise it. You don't burn energy trying to outshine others. You sit back, you watch, You wait. And when the noise finally burns itself out, you speak and your words land like a well-placed arrow. They carry weight. They cut through the chaos, not because they're loud, but because they're deliberate. In that moment, everything shifts. You go from being just another voice in the crowd to becoming the one they listen to most closely. Not because you demanded their attention, but because your presence made them give it. This isn't manipulation. It's mastery. Mastery of perception, of timing, and, most importantly, of self-control. In a world of impulsive reactions, the one who holds back becomes the most dangerous person in the room. And this isn't a game. It's a level of discipline most people never train for. Because restraint? It isn't weakness. It's focus. It's the wisdom to know you don't have to act on every impulse just because it's there. Socrates put it simply, to find yourself, think for yourself. And in today's hyper-reactive culture, sometimes that means resisting the urge to jump into the noise. Because the louder the environment, the more valuable your silence becomes. When voices are clashing and attention is a currency everyone's fighting for, the person who quietly listens stands out. Authentic confidence never needs to shout. True power is shown by how little you chase recognition. And when you understand that silence can speak louder than words, you change how the world sees you without ever raising your voice. In the previous section, we explored how embracing silence over noise can subtly yet powerfully shift how the world sees you. But the art of restraint doesn't stop at conversations. It extends deep into how we carry ourselves, how we navigate conflict, and how we respond to the provocations of life itself. Socrates had a better idea. A wiser, simpler, but often ignored truth. Be as you wish to seem. Stop performing. Start becoming. It's easy to fall into the trap of broadcasting our intentions, telling the world what we're building, what we're dreaming, what we plan to accomplish. But Socrates reminds us, let the results speak for themselves. Let the work silent, deliberate, focused make the announcement for you. You don't need to fight for attention. Instead, focus on being so undeniably effective, so quietly strategic, that you can't be ignored. You don't have to dominate every conversation to own the room. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is let others have the mic. Let them dance. Let them perform. Let them chase the applause. Because you're not on trial. You're not here to win their approval. You're here to read the room, to understand the dynamics at play, to watch how the pieces move, and then, when the moment truly matters, you make your move. Let them misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. That's not your problem. In fact, that's your secret weapon. While they're busy broadcasting their plans, you're already moving in silence. While they're chasing validation, you're quietly building leverage. And when the time comes to strike, you don't announce it. You don't seek applause. You simply act cleanly, decisively, powerfully. And when that moment lands, everything changes. Not because you shouted for attention, but because your presence demanded it. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's design. That's what happens when silence meets strategy. When ego steps aside and purpose takes the lead. When you stop trying to be impressive and start focusing on being effective, it often begins with something small. A disagreement, a misunderstanding, maybe even a joke that lands the wrong way. You feel that familiar heat creeping up your chest, your heart pounding, words rushing to your lips before you've even thought them through. And suddenly, you're in the middle of a shouting match with someone you were laughing with 5 minutes ago. You walk away with a clenched jaw, a sore throat, and nothing to show for it except distance and regret. Does this sound familiar? That's because most arguments aren't about resolution. They're about self-preservation. Once pride steps in, understanding slips out the back door. We've been conditioned to believe that being right is the ultimate goal, that if you can out-talk, outwit, or out-volume the other person, you've won. But what have you really won? The argument might end, but the relationship suffers. Respect suffers. And perhaps most importantly, you suffer too. Because the version of you that needed to win forgot to listen. The Stoics warned us of this trap long ago. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, no one can drag you into a fight unless you let them. You always have a choice. React or reflect. Escalator, observe. Arguments become traps not because of the topic, but because of the energy we bring to them. Let's say a friend says something you strongly disagree with: politics, religion, or even pineapple on pizza, whatever hits your nerve. Your first impulse might be to fire back, to correct them, to set them straight. But that impulse? That's not wisdom speaking. That's your ego. Pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to be right? Or am I trying to understand? Because when you attack, they defend. And once someone shifts into defense mode, they stop hearing you. Their walls go up. The truth can't get past the barbed wire of their pride. Now, flip the script. Instead of reacting, lean into curiosity. Ask questions not with sarcasm, but sincerely. Make space, not arguments. Carl Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." And he was right. Changing your mind is uncomfortable. It's work. So when you create a safe space for someone to think, not to defend, but to actually reflect, you give them a rare gift, the chance to reconsider, to evolve. That's influence. Not power over someone, but power with them. Socrates understood this better than anyone. His method, what we now call the Socratic method, wasn't about giving the right answers. It was about asking the right questions. He didn't shout people down. He didn't crush them with clever rhetoric. He simply asked, listened, and guided. And in doing so, he helped people uncover their own blind spots. That's why his teachings have endured for centuries. Because real wisdom doesn't force itself upon others, it walks alongside them. In the heat of the moment, raising your voice might feel satisfying. You might feel like you've won the argument. But strong reactions often come at the cost of strong relationships. You might prove your point and lose the person. Aristotle said, "Anyone can become angry, that is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy." And that's the challenge. Anger itself isn't the enemy. It's undisciplined anger that does the damage. Reaction without reflection is power used without purpose. So the next time you feel yourself slipping into defense mode, do the harder thing. Pause. Breathe. Watch your ego rise and let it settle. Then, respond not from a place of needing to be right, but from a place of wanting to understand. Ask them to share more. Ask why they believe what they believe. And really listen, not to trap them, but to understand them. Because the more they feel heard, the more they open up. And when they open up, there's a chance for change, not just in them, but in you too. Plato once said, "Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something." That's your compass. Don't speak just to fill the silence. Speak when you truly have something worth saying. Let your words come from clarity, not emotion, from insight, not insecurity. Because in the end, the person who remains grounded in a room full of shouting voices, the one who speaks with calm, waits with patience, and guides with empathy will always be the one truly in control, not just of the conversation, but of themselves. And that, right there, is where real power begins.